Hello Internet and welcome to part 2 of How Would You Teach a GMT COIN game, the British Way, counter-insurgency at the end of Empire. In the first video we ran over all the moves for the British pieces and we did a quick rundown of adjacency and what everything does. To clear a few things up, I did mess up what spaces on the board are called spaces. That is the correct jargon. And I did mention that 3 cubes are a combo of troops and police, but they can be 3 police, 3 troops, or any combo of either or are considered to be cubes for the British. So we'll get into the Ergon moves. So the Ergon has a recruit operation that is to get cells out of available and onto the board. With your major action, you're looking at placing them in up to 3 spaces without curfew markers. So that's a good use of curfew markers for the British right there. And so how you do it is you have 2 options. You can choose to place 2 cells in spaces with for adjacents to the arm caches. Otherwise, your other option is to place 1 cell in cities without arms caches or adjacent to any arms caches. So we'll quickly do a quick rundown of that. If with the map set up as it is, we have 2 arms caches right here. So you could go 2 on either of these lines. You could actually do 2 when, as far as leader is concerned, you could do 2 on each of the spaces because it's adjacent to 3 railway lines. So that makes it pretty powerful and it's a pretty good move. You're generally likely not going to want to be recruiting into the districts. You're generally more likely to try to aim for the cities or the railways. So 3 options, 3 spaces. So your cities are likely your best options. And just to go over the wording exactly, it does say place up to 2 cells in spaces. So that is all 3 of your options. So if you do pick that one, you can actually get 2 in cities. However, this one isn't adjacent to a arms cache, so you're not going to be able to get one in there. But 2 in those cities is still a pretty decent move, especially if you have no cities with a sabotage marker at that stage of the game. It would be quite a good idea. And the other way that it works is you could pick the 1 cell in the cities. So in this instance, this is the only city that's not adjacent and you'd only get 1 cell. Obviously later in game, if you've spent these or the British have removed them, then you could get 1 in each city. So that's still not a bad idea, but as it is right here, pretty good to get 2 into cities. So if you were to have a arms cache up here and 1 still in there, you could get 2 in all 3 cities. You could also get 2 into these railway tracks and then 2 into either its own district or the 2 Galilee or Samaria. So that's a very useful function of how arms caches work. I believe I was calling them weapons caches last turn, and much like with the British operations, they correspond to relevant special activities. This one does silence, propagandize, but we'll get into them later. Move cells with travel. 3 origin spaces again. This one's pretty fiddly. Cells may move from an origin space. An origin space is where the starting space, I guess you'd call it in layman's. In a standard board game, it would be its starting space, but there is no start space. Where it begins its turn. In fact, I'm pretty sure that is some way. Anyway, if any destination is a railway or has a curfew marker, and if cells moving from one origin plus cubes there exceed 3, activate those moving cells. Otherwise, you flip all your moving cells. So, what does this mean in practice? So it's really fiddly and very precise. So first check is, are you moving to a railway? Are you moving to a city with a curfew marker on it? Curfew markers can only go in cities. And if that's the case, well then it's worth checking out this. And to understand this, cells moving from, which means you count the cells moving from the origin space plus the cubes there exceed 3. So that would be 4 or more. I've managed to bugger that up a little bit in the past. We'll just quickly run through a demo of that. We'll just do 1 origin space and you can figure that out. So the purpose of moving cells generally is to get them to flip once they've done a sabotage or another action that's made them active, to get them back to undercover. So you could quickly move on to there easily. There's he's moving to a railway, but the space, he was the only guy in that area. However, if we were to do a quick demo, where this guy, say he's already successfully sabotaged this railway line and now he wants to move on down to Tel Aviv to do a sabotage marker or assist his buddy if he fails in doing it. You are moving to a space with a curfew marker, so you then have to check out the if you've got the exceed point, and it is cells moving plus the cubes. So these 3 are cubes, and he's the cell that's moving, and that does exceed 3. So you can still move there, but he would be active rather than flipped over. And obviously, if he's active, it makes him easier for troops to remove, and it makes him a bit less useful. He's still pretty good to run in there if they're looking to remove sabotage marker. You could stick an active one in, and that way they would have to first spend the whole turn just to kick Ergon pieces out before they can affect the sabotage. So that's another good use of curfew markers to any spaces. So, pardon me. cells may move from origin spaces. So you're up to 3 if you're doing a major action, or 4 with the special bonus down there. And they can go to any spaces. Doesn't have to be adjacent, and you can split them up. But the exceeding part is in relation to the origin space. So if you happen to have 4 active cells in one region, then you couldn't even move a guy into the next district because actually that's wrong. You could actually do that if it was just a 1, because it's just one that is in the action of moving, but all 4 of them can't come across. 3 of them could, and then flip to underground because it doesn't exceed 3. I hope that was clear enough. Where does everyone belong? Just because I might do a playthrough if I don't waffle on for too long. I'll do sabotage last and tie it in with terror. You have Rob, and that is to add arms caches to the map. As we've seen, you can use arm caches to spawn guys on the map, 2 at once in where it's occupied or adjacent to. Otherwise, you're looking at being limited to 1 in cities, and without curfew markers. So you can end up in situations where if all the cities have curfew markers on them and you have no arms caches, you won't be able to spawn on the map. So they can be pretty important. You've just got to protect them from the British, who will remove them to add to their political will. So where can you put these arms caches? I don't think they can stack. You can only have 1 per place, and they cannot go on railways. So quite here it's districts or cities with more cells than police. So if you were to have a single cell and no police officer, then it's factually true that you have more cells than police, so you can do that there. You can't spawn them on railways. I don't think you can move them to railways. I don't think there's an action to actually move them apart from in the clean-up phase after a propaganda round, but we'll get to that later. So, more cells than police. In each selected space, roll a die, and if the roll is greater than 2, place 1 arms cache, activate 1 underground cell if there are any police in the space. So, you're probably not likely to pick a spot where there is a police officer, because burning an underground cell just to do that, unless it's your last resort, I guess you might think it's the best or one of your only few options available, but generally you're not going to be burning a guy just to place out an arms cache. So it's a die roll, 3, 4, 5, 6, it succeeds. Selected space is a district or a city. Yeah, I think that's pretty clear and doesn't need to be demonstrated. What isn't clear is sabotage, and we can get straight onto terror since these two function more than any other kind of set of moves within the game. I've been playing this wrong for most of the time I've had the game. I won't explain how. We'll play it normally. So with sabotage, ideally it's probably going to be your first move that you do. The Ergon player does go first in the starting space, and you do get 4 spaces in which to do it in. So in each selected space, activate 1 underground cell, roll a die, subtract 1 for each police officer, so the police officer modifies the die roll in that space, and adding 2 if an arms cache in or adjacent to the space is removed. So meaning you can choose or choose not to remove an arms cache that is occupying or adjacent to the space you are performing the sabotage in. That also counts as a modifier, so you end up with modified die rolls. So if the roll result is greater than 2, place the sabotage marker in the space. However, if you're planning on doing the full operation along with the special activity, it would be the Ergon guy that's doing it. You're likely going to be doing terror as well. In fact, let me think. Unless you're not in a city, I guess that's one. If you're not in a city, you're probably not going. Well, you can't do terror because terror only works within the city. You can't do it on the railway or in the districts. So it says here, place terror markers. The accompanying is sabotage. 1 city selected for sabotage. Roll for sabotage, but instead place a terror marker if successful. If modified die roll is 6 or greater, place 2 terror markers and shift the Haggadah 1 step to the left. So this can get you back your 1 bonus origin space for all of your operations. If you're on 3, it can get it to 4, or work it off 0 and hopefully get back higher, and potentially get your guys back to available to spawn more. So how does sabotage work? How does this work? We'll just run through sabotage. Just pick 3 guys out here. 1, 2, 3. You'd probably just go one at a time. A good opportunity to use the pawns to just remember which ones you've activated this turn and what you're rolling for. So if you really, where did the dice go? Oh, great. Either I'm blind or the dice have gone. I'm blind. Yeah, about 4 years overdue for an eye test. So, and you just confirm this guy's going first. So you need a 3, 4, 5, 6, or just kick that out and boom, you'd succeed on a 1. Obviously you don't succeed on a 6, you don't get any bonus rolling a 6 for the sabotage part. And you get your marker down. Beautiful. And the other guys can do their roll. So you'd even succeed on a 1 since there's no police officers there. However, so he'd cancel out one of the benefits of that, so you'd just be getting basically a +1 from removing your arms cache from the board. Now, What does this mean? Roll for sabotage, but instead place a terror marker if successful. What it means is one of your one of your three or more spaces, 3 or 4 spaces likely. You could even possibly burn a arms cache. So you can use it for sabotage. Yep. So you can even get an additional space to bring it up to 5 if that's up here. But if you're doing one in the city, then one of these spaces is this. This terror isn't in addition to sabotage, it's part of sabotage. It's one of the spaces that you've picked in sabotage. That's what roll for sabotage means. It's gee whiz, it's yeah. I'm still not going to tell you how I was playing it before. You can maybe write in the comments how you thought it, what it meant, or I guess if you're a GMT player, you're kind of zoned into the rules. I've only played the Flashpoint South China Sea, which is a very, very quick and basic GMT game. I've also done Versailles 1919 solo, and my score was horrendous. Anyway, I'll do a full action to explain this and stop waffling on about other stuff. So 3 spaces, 3 cities. This is generally what you would choose to do at the start of the game, since you're already in the city. Bang, 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 and you would roll for each of them in there. Because if you don't, well, then a pretty good move for straight away for the British is to go, well, we're going to, if you're not activated and tried to sabotage you, we're going to flip you open. So yeah, you do always have the police in there though, so you are looking at a 4, 5, 6 unless you do spend that, in which case you'd be looking at a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if you do choose to spend both of them, then your spawning recruit, using the correct term, is limited to 1 in cities without curfews. So keep that in mind. You do get, I believe you get to rob, but it might be circumstantial within the clean-up stage of after the propaganda card. Jumping up to silence, which corresponds with recruit and travel. It's very simple. Just your purpose is to remove a police officer. 1 space with an equal or greater number of underground cells than police. So they just need to be underground. They don't have to flip for it. It's just they just come over, give him a handful of cash or a brown paper bag, or hopefully not like one of those cartoon bags with the dollar symbol on it. That's all that is. It removes the police. And that way, you can, if you time it right, you can do that beforehand, or sometimes it's just the only action you can do, because you have to do one of these. And the last special activity we haven't touched on is propagandize, which is extremely circumstantial. You can do it in 2 spaces, but it needs all the cells need to be underground, and they need to be in a city with a curfew marker. It says max 2 cities. Here it does say spaces of cells and curfew markers. Curfew markers only go in cities, so that's worth keeping in mind. In each space, if all cells are underground, activate 1 cell, then lower political will by 1 in each space. So you'd select two cities with curfew markers, and yeah, everyone in there would need to be underground, and then so you couldn't have this guy in here active and be able to do it. All underground, and then they would both need to flip in order to score just 2. So, I mean, even just setting up that is extremely circumstantial, and why you would activate a cell in a city to do that rather than do a sabotage marker instead is pretty rare. I don't think I've ever used it in a game. And that's all the cells. That's all the special activities. So if I clean up the board, I might just run for a few turns. I can't see how long this is recording for. I'll just see if pause works or not. Nothing happened on the screen. I'm unable to see. Hopefully it's still recording. In fact, I might just do another video. Cheers.